optimistic.
I heard there might be $300,000 in supplemental capital funding for a Wilson Creek project on campus?
Well, whenever we are building and we get close to Wilson Creek, we're I mean, the phrase that our construction management folks talk about is daylighting Wilson Creek. You know, Wilson Creek runs, you know, up from the mountains down to the Yakima, and has been covered over in a lot of spots. So we're trying to restore that creek whenever we can. If we get the supplemental budget and we have some of the construction projects that we will use that money for, it'll involve daylighting some additional areas of that creek.
So that means bring it out into the open
Bring
again.
it out into the open, yeah,
Okay.
bring it out into the open, so that people like you and me can see it and not know it's there. It's fascinating if you walk through town. I mean, you like me are relatively new to the town. If you walk down some of the sidewalks in town, you'll hear this kind of odd sound. It's Wilson Creek gurgling underneath the sidewalk. So it kind of snakes around through the town. And also on our campus, it kind of comes around through our campus, and it's been covered over a lot. So we're trying to get it exposed again.
And that term on campus office is for Wilson Creek is the Ganges, right?
No, that's two different things.
Oh,
the
is it?
Wilson
Okay.
Creek is actually a creek,
Okay.
and the Ganges is the town ditch. It's the irrigation
okay.
ditch that goes through town. So those are actually two different things. I don't know if the town ditch is daylighted the whole way. I think it is. No, but Wilson Creek is actually a naturally flowing stream.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Another thing on campus that's kind of caught people's attention is the lots over at D Street and University Way.
Yes.
And there were houses there that were taken down.
Correct.
It sounds like there might be some plans for that.
Well, we're going to put a park there. We will put, you know, a nice kind of a cinder gravel parkway through it and put some benches in there. Of course, the trees are already mature there. We'll put some shrubbery in there and make it part of the kind of, if you will, the welcoming environment to the campus. Obviously, it'll be open to anybody who wants to use that park, and we'll start that fairly soon. I mean, as soon as the weather allows for the planting of the shrubbery and the digging of the. It's already, of course, there were houses there, so there's water there, and we'll irrigate and return it to grass where there is not the pathways. So that should happen this spring, and it should be usable this summer.
Okay. And is that a permanent or a temporary kind
It's
of
permanent until we have a different use for the building, but I mean for the property. Excuse me. There's no. As I've been saying since I arrived here, and in fact, it was a plan that I inherited from my predecessors. There was always hope to build, you know, kind of a sightline pathway from the university into the town to make it more connectivity between the two. And that was, you know, if you will, kind of the start line for that activity. And it's still our plan. So we don't have a use design for that building other actually than that pathway. So until there's some demand comes for that property and we go through all the planning processes for do that, it'll remain a park.
Okay.
I've learned to never say permanently in this business, but permanently until we figure something else out or someone has another request.
Which brings us to another kind of issue that's been going on in town, which is the entrances to town. And there are folks from different entities that are talking about how to improve signage and just the way the entrances, the south interchange and the west interchange look. What's the university's role in that? It sounds like you're involved.
We're involved. You know, this has been talked about since I arrived here, and probably for a lot earlier than that. Just, you know, how people find Ellensburg, and when they get off the freeway, how we draw them in off of those freeway stops into the town for a whole host of very important reasons. One of the things the university did as part of our strategic planning process was hold these open forum, and one of the things said in those open forum was we just need to have more almost irregular communication. That is not necessarily the meeting of the chamber and the trustees, which you know we do, but maybe just conversation. So we started a series of breakfast meetings with myself and a trustee and a staff person or two, and then small groups of civic and business and community leaders. And one of the things that was discussed was the signage issue, and then we started identifying all the different threads that are ongoing. And so we're now starting, I guess, kind of a committee of committees. There's lots of these committees that are doing various activities, and we're starting to coordinate to see how we can just kind of improve that, that appearance, the signage, the beautification of the entryways. One of the things the university has done is and which we're happy to do, and to offer the community is banners, designing some banners that would serve both the city of Ellensburg, but also the university. So if you will, kind of a split banner, visit the university and visit Ellensburg in any particular order. That could also then be customized and tailored for rodeo weekend or Dachshunds on Parade or whatever might be happening in town. And then also to put signage up at the two exchanges that are more welcoming than the current signage. But it's us, the Chamber of Commerce is involved, the city of Ellensburg is involved. It's a whole group of people that are talking about it.
How does improving those entrances help, I guess, people find the university or get to an event they need to be here for?
Well, it's both helping them get there, but it's also, I think, welcoming. So there's, you want the entrances to be, when you drive up and say, I want to keep going. You know, there's something about it that draws me into it. Some of that will be signage, and some of that will just be, how does it look? Is it attractive? Is it welcoming? I'm no expert in this area. There are experts, and I know the city of Ellensburg has some contracts out for some studies. I think the current term is wayfinding signs. So how do you find your way into a community? And there's, besides signage, there's just kind of natural ways to do that. I know some towns do tree-lined or flower-lined streets, and if you're at all questionable, you just kind of follow the flowers, you know, and that brings you to where you want to be. So I think that's what the discussion is now, is how do we go about creating that environment to pull people off of the exchanges and into town. Of course, Central's interested in that because the vast majority of our students don't come from Ellensburg, they come from elsewhere in the state, and the vast majority of our students come from the west side. So the first thing they see when they're deciding whether to come to Central or not, before they've made that decision, is to drive into Central. And they're making decisions. Is this the place I want to come to school and live for 4 years? So it's very important to us. And we've heard stories. I myself tell one about missing the university when I came to town because there weren't signs that brought me in. And when I finally found the university, then I wanted to find the town of Ellensburg, and I had a hard time. For reasons I don't know, I kept going north and east from the university to find the town, and of course it isn't over there. So there was no signage that brought me down into downtown Ellensburg. I had to actually stopped at the Jack in the Box.
It's first impressions, all about first impressions.
All first impressions and just kind of natural flows.
It sounds like there might be some changes coming for the Alumni Association.
I think so. You know, alumni in this new economic model that universities in the state of Washington are finding themselves in, it's very, very, well, the Alumni Associations become important for two reasons, but both enrollment and philanthropy, donations, a key component to both is the Alumni Association. What distinguishes what students look for, not so much when they're freshmen coming into the university, but when they're beginning to move through the university and are beginning to think about their first job, is, am I joining a community that's going to mentor me, help me for the rest of my life? And Central has not always had that alumni association. It wasn't organized in a way that necessarily a student who is coming through, say, their junior and senior year, knew how to engage the Alumni Association in that mentoring. And we've also not historically connected with our alumni right after graduating. We've kind of let them drift a little bit, and then we've brought them back later if we can still find them. So what we're looking to do is to organize our alumni in ways that address both of those, that will address them. So we're in the world of alumni associations are called affinity groups. It means alumni who have an affinity for each other, some connection, and that connection, obviously the commonality is the university. So I was just in Washington, D.C., doing some legislative visits on the Hill out there, and I met with the alumni, and we're looking at creating, in the Washington, D.C. area, now they come from all academic disciplines. There were people in there that had graduated 3 years ago and people who had graduated in the early 60s. So it was all ages, all disciplines. But what's what connects them is they all live in Washington, D.C. So that we're looking at creating a Washington, D.C. chapter. Well, what students can do, students who are looking for jobs or internships in Washington, D.C., there'll be a welcoming group of people there that can host them into that new life. And then hopefully all of those people will do well in their careers, and they'll feel very close to the university, and sometime when they're able, will be able to contribute back to the university. So I think that affinity structure is what will be new about our Alumni Association.